They said the blood moon would return only once every 100 years, and when it did, something in the world would remember its hunger. Elara Ven had grown up hearing that prophecy whispered around hearth fires, told as a warning for children not to wander too far at night. But on the night the crimson light finally spilled across the sky, she was no longer a child, just a young woman walking alone through the frozen woods, carrying a lantern that flickered with the same red glow as the moon above her. The forest was silent, no birds, no wind, the kind of silence that feels like something listening. Elara had been traveling since dawn. Her cloak was soaked with melted snow, her boots caked with mud. Each step forward was guided more by instinct than by sense. She was following the map her mother had left behind, a map marked with a name long forgotten by most, Castle Morwenna. Her mother's last words echoed in her memory. If ever the blood moon returns, find the one they call Kael. He will protect you. Even from death itself, Elara had laughed through her tears that night, thinking it a delirious promise spoken by a dying woman. But when the blood moon actually rose, huge and bleeding over the valley, something deep inside her stirred, the way old wounds ache before a storm. She had packed her bag and left before the sun could argue. Now, as she reached the ridge overlooking the valley, she saw it at last, the castle, black against the red horizon, its spires clawing at the sky. A pulse of light shimmered briefly through one of its broken towers like a heartbeat. Elara tightened her grip on the lantern. "Kael," she whispered into the cold, "if you're real, I'm coming." She found him before she reached the gates. A figure stood in the snow, tall and motionless, as though he'd been waiting there for centuries. He wore a long dark coat that brushed the ground, and his hair, silver white like frost, glowed faintly under the moonlight. When he turned, she saw eyes the color of storm clouds, beautiful and frightening all at once. "You shouldn't be here," he said. His voice was calm, but it carried something heavy beneath it. "I'm looking for Kael," Elara answered, trying to sound brave, though her pulse raced. The man tilted his head, studying her. "Who sent you?" "My mother. She told me to find you when the blood moon rose again." For a heartbeat, the only sound was the falling snow. Then, almost imperceptibly, he flinched. "Your mother," he said softly. "What was her name?" "Elena Ven." The wind stirred. Something ancient flickered in his eyes. Recognition, sorrow, and something darker. He took a slow step forward. "You have her eyes." Elara swallowed. "You're Kael, aren't you?" He didn't answer right away. Then, at last, "I was." He turned away, walking toward the iron gates that guarded the castle. They creaked open without his touch, as if the metal itself obeyed him. Elara followed, hesitant but drawn by something she couldn't name. Inside the courtyard, the air felt colder. The snow here was gray, almost ashen, and the statues that lined the path were too lifelike, faces frozen mid-scream, hands reaching for mercy that never came. "What happened to them?" she whispered. "They swore loyalty," Kael said quietly, "and paid the price for breaking it." Elara shivered. "Are they dead?" "They are what remains of death." She almost turned back then, but something about the way he said it, tired, not cruel, kept her still. As they crossed the courtyard, she noticed he cast no shadow, and though snowflakes fell on her shoulders, none touched his. Inside the gates, the castle loomed like a cathedral carved from midnight. Every stone seemed to hum faintly, like it remembered pain. Kael led her through the entrance hall, an expanse of marble and dust. The walls were lined with portraits, each depicting the same woman, pale, beautiful, with eyes like twilight. Her expression changed from frame to frame, sometimes serene, sometimes furious, sometimes weeping. Elara felt a strange pull toward those painted eyes. Who is she? Her name was Lysandra, Kael said. She was my reason for forgetting what mercy means. Before Elara could ask more, a sharp sound split the silence. 3 knocks from somewhere deep within the castle. Slow, hollow, like a door remembering how to open. Kael's jaw tightened. We're not alone tonight. He motioned for her to stay close. The corridor darkened, and the air grew heavy. For a moment, Elara thought she saw movement in the mirrors, shapes gliding past, whispering her name. Elara. She froze. Did you hear that? Kael's expression hardened. The castle knows you now. It remembers every soul that enters. You should not answer when it calls why, because it hungers for names. They stopped in a narrow hallway, lined with broken chandeliers. Beyond the cracked windows, the blood moon burned enormous and low. Its light painted Kael's face crimson, making him look almost human. I don't understand, Elara said. My mother said you would protect me, but from what? He looked at her for a long time before replying, from myself. The words hung between them, heavy and real. Elara's heart thudded painfully. You mean, you're the monster the stories warned about? Kael's smile was sad. Monster is a simple word for complicated sins. He took a step closer, his voice lowering. Your mother once saved me from what I had become. But every salvation demands a debt, and the blood moon has come to collect what? Her promise. He touched his chest, where no heartbeat stirred, and perhaps her daughter. Suddenly the torches along the walls flared to life. Elara gasped, shielding her eyes. The hall around them shimmered, and for a moment she saw another time, people dancing in golden light, laughter echoing, music playing, the castle alive, beautiful, then screams, blood, shadows moving faster than light. When the vision faded, Kael stood motionless, his expression carved in stone. This place remembers too much, he murmured, every brick soaked in what I could not undo. What happened? She whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he looked at her as though trying to decide whether to believe what he saw. You shouldn't have come here, Elara Ven. The curse that took your mother's life now calls for yours. My mother died of sickness. No, he said softly. She died of me. The words struck like ice. Before she could speak, the castle groaned, a sound deep and ancient, as if the stones themselves were waking. Dust fell from the ceiling. Kael turned sharply, his eyes flashing silver. They know you're here, he said. We have little time before the castle decides what to do with you. Who's they? The ones who never left. He led her up a staircase that spiraled into darkness. The higher they climbed, the colder it became. The whispers followed, soft, pleading, like distant prayers. Elara. Stay. Bleed. She clutched the railing to steady herself. I can't breathe. Kael stopped, turned, and placed a hand on her shoulder. Look at me. His eyes met hers, steady, impossibly calm, and the panic melted away. The air warmed slightly, though his touch was cold. You feel it, don't you? He said. The pull. This castle recognizes the blood you carry. It remembers your mother's vow. Elara's voice trembled. What vow? Kael hesitated, then said quietly, to offer her soul in exchange for mine. She stared at him, stunned. That's impossible. Nothing is impossible under the blood moon. He turned away, his voice barely above a whisper. She gave her soul to keep me bound, to keep me from feeding. But a vow made in blood must be renewed when the moon returns. You came because something in your blood remembered Elara's lantern flickered, the flame dimming. So what happens now? Kael's expression softened, sad, almost human again. Now, I protect you. For as long as I can resist what I am. The wind howled through a broken window, scattering petals from a vase that had long since dried. Kael caught one midair, a brittle red petal that crumbled against his glove. He looked at her with something like wonder or fear. You shouldn't have her eyes, he murmured, and yet you do. Elara took a small step forward. If my mother trusted you, then I will too. His gaze darkened. Don't. Why not? Because every time I care, he said, voice breaking like glass, someone dies. Silence stretched between them. Then, impulsively, Elara reached up and touched his cheek. It was colder than the snow outside, but her fingers didn't pull away. Kael's breath caught. You shouldn't. I'm not afraid. You should be. For a moment, the world tilted. He leaned closer, not human enough to be gentle, not monstrous enough to stop. Their lips met briefly, barely a touch, and yet it felt like the air itself burned away. Elara's knees weakened, her vision blurred. Kael stepped back sharply, horror crossing his face. No, I told you not to. What happened? She gasped. He turned away, voice low with anguish. Every kiss steals a piece of your soul. The silence that followed their kiss felt alive. Kael stood frozen, his chest heaving, though no breath filled his lungs. Elara stared at him, her fingers trembling. She could still feel the cold echo of his lips on hers, like ice melting into flame. What do you mean? She whispered. You said every kiss steals a piece of my soul? Kael turned sharply, pacing away. It's the nature of what I am, the curse that binds me to this castle. My hunger is not for blood, it's for memory, for life itself. I warned you. Elara's voice shook. Then why didn't you stop me? I tried. He faced her, eyes bright with anguish, but your mother's eyes looked at me again, and I forgot how to be what I am supposed to be. The torches along the walls dimmed, their flames quivering as if in sympathy with his turmoil. The castle itself seemed to sigh, a low sound that rolled through the hall like thunder under the skin of the earth. The floor, beneath their feet, trembled. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Kael clenched his fists. It's waking, he said quietly. The castle feels your soul within its walls. It will want more. What do you mean, it? You talk as if it's alive. It is, Kael replied. Every stone is a piece of my penance, every corridor a wound that never heals. I built this place from regret, and it feeds on every spark of life that dares enter. Elara's lantern flickered, then went out entirely. Only the faint red light from the blood moon bled through the broken windows, painting her skin like something sacred and doomed. Kael looked at her, his expression unreadable. If you wish to live, you must never love me. Not even a little Elara managed a broken laugh. It's a bit late for that, isn't it? For the first time, Kael looked afraid. He led her deeper into the castle, down a corridor where the walls whispered faintly as they passed. At first the sounds were indistinct, murmurs and sighs, but gradually they took shape. Elara, stay with him. Die for him. She clutched her chest, her heart pounding. They're calling my name again. Kael stopped. Don't listen. I can't help it. Then remember this. He turned to her, his tone suddenly fierce. Every voice you hear in this place once loved me, and every one of them died because of it. Elara froze. The whispering grew louder for a moment, then faded, as though cowed by his anger. When they reached the end of the hall, Kael pushed open a door. It led to a vast library, dusty, filled with books that looked too old to exist. This is where you'll be safe, he said quietly. For now. She stepped inside, feeling the weight of countless forgotten words pressing down on her. Safe from what? From me. Kael struck a match and lit the candelabras. The warm glow softened the sharpness of his features, casting him in gold instead of silver. He looked almost human again. Almost. Sit, he said. You must rest. The castle has already taken enough from you tonight. Elara sat on an old velvet chair, watching him. He moved with the grace of someone who had lived through centuries of sorrow, every motion precise, deliberate, like a man afraid to disturb ghosts that followed his every step. Kael, she said after a while, tell me the truth. What happened here? Why are you bound to this place? He was silent for a long time, staring into the fire. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, like a prayer said over the grave of something holy. I was human once. Foolish. Proud. I thought I could bargain with death. He turned to her, and death, amused by my arrogance, gave me exactly what I asked for. Eternity. But it came with a condition. To live forever, I must feed on the life of those who love me. Elara's eyes widened. So the curse isn't blood? It's affection? Yes. He gave a bitter smile. Every touch, every heartbeat offered, willingly becomes mine. Love is my hunger, my sustenance, and my punishment, she whispered. That's cruel. It's justice, he said simply. A flicker of compassion. The firelight flickered, throwing strange shadows across his face. Elara studied him quietly. Then why protect me? She asked. If I remind you of your curse, why not send me away? Kael's expression softened, almost imperceptibly. Because your mother did not deserve to die for my mistake. And neither do you. He looked away. But I fear the castle disagrees. As if summoned by his words, a sudden gust of wind burst through the room, scattering books from the shelves. The flames dimmed. Elara cried out as one of the heavy tomes struck the ground beside her, opening to a page filled with symbols drawn in crimson ink. Kael knelt, frowning. This shouldn't be here. What is it? He hesitated. A record of vows, sealed in blood. Names of those who offer their souls willingly. He flipped a page. There, written in delicate handwriting, was Elena Venn. Elara's breath caught. My mother. Kael's jaw tightened. She came to me during the last blood moon, begged me to spare her village from the plague. I told her what it would cost. You took her soul. I bound it, he said, to keep her alive. I thought I'd saved her, but when the moon set, she was gone. Elara felt tears sting her eyes. So she traded her soul to save others. And you've carried her dead ever since. Kael nodded slowly. And now, the moon demands renewal. It sent you the portrait that weeps. A faint sound interrupted them, a soft drip, like water hitting stone. Elara turned. On the far wall hung a portrait of the same woman from before, Lysandra, the one whose eyes seemed to follow her everywhere. But now tears of crimson were streaking down the painted cheeks. Kael rose abruptly. No! The room trembled. The air grew colder. The voice that spoke was female, gentle and echoing, like a song remembered from a dream. You promised me eternity, Kael. You gave it to her instead. Elara stepped back. Who is she? Kael's voice was barely audible, the one I could not save. The portrait's tears turned to blood, dripping onto the floor and spreading like roots. The books around them began to rot, the air thick with the scent of iron and roses. Kael seized Elara's hand. We have to go. The door that shouldn't exist. They ran from the library, the whispers chasing them like a tide. When they reached the main hall, a new door had appeared on the opposite wall, a door that hadn't been there before. Kael stopped dead. No. What is it? The West Wing? His voice broke. It shouldn't be open. The door creaked wider, revealing only darkness beyond. A faint voice called from within, familiar, heartbreakingly so. Elara. She froze. That's my mother's voice. Kael grabbed her arm. It's not her. The castle is using her voice to lure you. But Elara pulled away. What if it's really her? What if she's trapped here because of you? Before he could stop her, she stepped into the darkness. The hall of blood and memory. The moment she crossed the threshold, the world shifted. The air turned thick, warm, alive. The walls pulsed faintly, as if veins ran beneath the stone. The floor glistened underfoot, not with dust, but with a thin sheen of red. Kael followed, materializing beside her in an instant. You shouldn't have come here, he hissed. This is where the castle feeds. Voices surrounded them, hundreds of them, whispering in harmony. Some cried, some laughed, some begged. Elara spun, trying to see them. What are they? Souls, Kael said quietly, the ones it devoured. They relive their deaths again and again, waiting for mercy that will never come. A shape emerged from the shadows, a woman in a flowing gown, her face half light, half decay. She smiled at Elara. My child, the specter said softly, you came back. Elara's knees weakened. Mother. Kael stepped between them, his voice sharp. Stay back, spirit. But the ghost only laughed, a sound like bells cracking. She carries my blood. You cannot keep her from me. Elara reached out despite herself. Please, if it's really you, tell me, did you make the vow? The ghost's expression changed. Sadness, regret, love. I did. To save you, not doom you, but now our fates are bound. The walls began to tremble. Kael's eyes glowed silver. Elara, we must leave. Now. The storm had passed, but the castle still breathed like a living thing. Wind sighed through the cracks of forgotten corridors, carrying whispers that weren't meant for mortal ears. Elara held her lantern close. The flame trembled as though afraid to look ahead. Every step she took echoed against marble floors, veined with red like dried blood. Paintings lined the walls, noble faces with sorrowful eyes. Yet one portrait made her stop, a woman, pale and beautiful, with dark curls cascading over her shoulders, and a face that mirrored her own. Her fingers grazed the frame. Dust fell away to reveal a single name carved beneath, Lysandra. The name pulsed in her chest like a heartbeat that wasn't hers. You should not be here. The voice came from behind her, gentle, melodic, and painfully familiar. Elara turned, and her breath caught. Her mother stood in the doorway, or someone wearing her face. Same smile, same soft eyes that used to chase nightmares away. Yet the light behind them was wrong, cold and distant, like moonlight on a frozen lake. Mother, Elara whispered. The figure tilted her head. You came here, even after I warned you not to follow the moon's call. Tears burned her eyes. You're alive? The woman smiled sadly. No, my child. Only the memory of me lingers here. She reached out, fingers trembling, almost touching Elara's cheek. Kael's grief brought us all back in fragments, echoes, not souls. The lantern flickered violently. The air thickened with the scent of lilies in decay. Elara stepped back. Who is Kael? Lord Kael of the Blood Moon? Her mother's reflection spoke as if reciting an old wound. The immortal bound to sorrow? He promised love eternal. But every vow he kept cost him another life. Lysandra was his first. You? She paused, the illusion faltering. You might be his last. The flame died. Darkness swallowed everything. Kael didn't wait for her answer. His hand closed around Elara's, cold and strong, and before she could ask another question, he was leading her out of the ballroom. The corridor swallowed the music behind them. Only the echo of their footsteps remained, quick and uneven, against the marble floor. Elara glanced back once. The chandeliers trembled as if the room itself exhaled a final breath. Moonlight spilled through tall windows, painting the dust in silver. The castle felt alive, watching, listening. "Where are we going?" she whispered. "Somewhere the walls can't hear us," Kael said quietly. His voice carried centuries of weariness. The scent of rain and iron clung to him, and every heartbeat of silence between them felt heavier than the last. They stopped before a great iron door carved with roses turned to thorns. Kael pushed it open, and the hinges screamed like something in pain. Beyond lay a chamber lit only by the moon. At its center stood a fountain long since dry, its stone cracked and lined with veins of dark red moss. Elara's lantern flickered as she stepped closer. "What is this place?" "A promise once made," Kael murmured. He traced his fingers over the fountain's rim. "Lysandra pledged her love to me here, beneath the blood moon." "We thought it would protect us from time." Elara felt the air shift. The moonlight thickened, turning crimson, and in that glow the fountain seemed to breathe. "What happened to her?" Kael's eyes softened. "I failed her." "The moon remembers what I took." The wind rose, whispering through broken arches. Somewhere deep within the castle, a door slammed, and the echoes came rushing back. Soft voices, laughter, then a sob. Elara touched the fountain's surface. For a heartbeat, she saw her own reflection. Then another face beneath it, identical, weeping silently as unseen hands pulled it into darkness. She stumbled back. "Kael, what was that?" "The curse," he said. "It shows what has been lost." Before she could speak again, a sound drifted through the hall, a woman's lullaby, fragile and familiar. Elara froze. "That song? My mother used to sing it." Kael's expression changed. "Then the castle is reaching for you." The lantern flame shivered and died. Darkness wrapped around them. The darkness wasn't silent. It breathed, slow, deep, and alive. Elara's fingers tightened around the cold handle of the lantern, even though its flame had died. The faint perfume of lilies floated through the air, just as it had in her mother's garden years ago. "Elara." A whisper brushed against her ear. It was soft, trembling. The same voice that used to call her in from the rain when she was a child. Her pulse leapt. "Mother." She turned in circles, trying to find the sound, but every direction looked the same. Endless black, threaded with red moonlight leaking through cracks in the ceiling. "Follow the light, my love." But there was no light. Then, faintly, the fountain began to glow. The waterless basin filled with a thin, silvery mist. Shapes moved inside it. Shadows of people she didn't know, faces that blurred when she tried to focus, and there, among them, stood her mother. Elara's breath caught. The woman smiled, arms open. "Come to me, child." She stepped forward, one trembling foot after another. The stone beneath her felt soft, almost warm. The air hummed like a lullaby sung through tears. A hand caught her wrist, cold, firm. Kael's voice broke through the spell. "Do not answer it." "But it's her," Elara whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. "She's here." "No," he said, pulling her back. "That is what the curse wants you to believe." The figure's smile faltered. Its eyes opened wider, too wide, revealing endless black. The fountain's glow turned scarlet. From its mist, hands of crimson vapor reached for Elara, clawing, desperate, He released her slowly, his thumb brushing a tear from her cheek. It tried to take you, because you carry the same soul Lysandra once did. You mean, you are her echo, he whispered, her love reborn under another moon. For a moment, time forgot itself. His words hung between them like the last note of a dying song. Elara wanted to speak, to deny it, but the way he looked at her, the sorrow and wonder in his eyes, made her heart tremble. Outside, thunder rolled across the mountains. The blood moon sank behind clouds, leaving only pale light. Kael turned toward the corridor. Come. Before the castle dreams again, he offered his hand. She hesitated, then took it. The moment their fingers touched, warmth spread through the cold air, chasing back the last whisper of darkness. Together, they stepped into the hall, the sound of the fading lullaby trailing behind. A promise, or perhaps a warning. They walked through corridors that seemed to wind forever. The torches along the walls lit themselves as Kael passed, flaring one by one as though the castle still obeyed him. Elara followed close behind, her fingers brushing the folds of his cloak. Every step echoed through her chest, steady and strange, almost like two hearts beating in rhythm. Where are you taking me? She asked quietly. To the one place this curse cannot reach. They turned a corner, and the air changed. The scent of iron and dust gave way to lavender. Kael stopped before a narrow door half hidden by ivy. He placed his palm on the wood, symbols burned faintly beneath his hand, and the lock melted away without a sound. The door opened onto a small circular room, lit by hundreds of candles. They floated in the air, like stars trapped beneath a glass sky. Books lined the walls, their covers worn by centuries. At the center stood a single bed, untouched, its sheets still dusted with rose petals turned brittle with age. Whose room is this? Elara whispered. Kael's gaze softened. Lysandra's. He stepped inside, every movement slow, reverent. She loved this place. Said it was the only corner of the world where the moon couldn't find her. Elara moved closer, running her hand over the carved headboard. A delicate necklace lay on the pillow, a silver locket shaped like a crescent moon. Inside was a portrait of Kael and a woman identical to Elara, their faces painted in soft strokes of hope. She really was me, Elara murmured. No, Kael said gently, you are not her. But the moon has given you her soul's reflection. That is why I could not stay away. He turned toward her. Candlelight wove through his dark hair, painting his face in golden shadow. Every century, the blood moon rises, and it brings back what it once took. I thought it would give me peace. Instead, it gave me you. Elara's heart fluttered. And what does it want from me? Kael looked down. It wants to finish what it began. Before she could speak, the air in the room rippled. The candles flickered wildly, their flames bending toward the locket on the bed. It lifted into the air, spinning slowly until it burst open. A ghostly light poured out, forming a woman's shape, Lysandra. Her eyes were full of sorrow. Kael, the spirit whispered, voice like a broken harp. You swore you would not love again. Kael bowed his head. I swore to remember you. But the moon does not forgive remembrance. The spirit's gaze shifted to Elara. Then you will lose her too. The wind howled through the chamber, scattering petals into a crimson storm. The candles went out, one by one, until only the locket glowed in the darkness. Elara reached for Kael's hand. Tell me how to break it. By doing what I never could, he said, his voice trembling, by choosing love without fear. The ghostly figure began to fade, her sorrow melting into light. For a heartbeat, the room felt lighter, almost peaceful, and then a crack split the ceiling. Kael pulled Elara close as shards of stone fell around them. The castle is awakening. It knows the curse is weakening outside. Thunder rolled again. The blood moon was rising once more. Dust drifted through the air like snow, catching the faint red glow that seeped through the cracked ceiling. Kael's arm still circled Elara's shoulders, steady and protective. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. "You shouldn't have come," he murmured at last. "Yet you saved me," she said softly. "If I wasn't meant to be here, why keep me alive?" He turned toward her, eyes the color of dusk after rain. "Because every time I look at you, I forget that I'm not supposed to feel anything anymore." Silence wrapped around them. The castle groaned, but it felt distant, almost respectful of their stillness. Elara reached up and touched the locket still glowing faintly on the bed. "Lysandra loved you once. You said I'm her echo. Then what does that make us?" Kael smiled, a sad, fleeting thing, a question the moon keeps asking. Perhaps it wants to see if love can be reborn without sorrow." She stepped closer. "And can it?" His hand lifted, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. "I don't know. Every time I try, the curse takes another piece of me." The candle stubs flickered to life again, throwing their faces into gold and shadow. For the first time, Elara saw how tired he looked. Not just weary, but hollowed by centuries. "You talk as if love is something that kills," she whispered. "It doesn't kill," he said. "It remembers. And memory can be cruel." The faintest tremor of emotion crossed his lips. She saw it before he hid it behind a breath. She wanted to ask more, how long he'd been alone, how many times the moon had risen and stolen what he loved. But words felt too small. Instead, she reached for his hand. He hesitated. The air between them tightened, charged. Then he let their fingers intertwine. The contact sent a rush of warmth through both of them, as if the castle itself exhaled. "Your heartbeat," he said quietly. "It sounds the same as hers did." "Maybe that's why you were meant to find me," Elara replied. Kael shook his head. "No, I think I was meant to learn how to lose differently." The pain in his voice hit her harder than any curse. She stepped closer until there was no distance left to hide behind. "You don't have to lose again." His breath caught, not with surprise but longing. "If I believe that," he said, "the curse will wake." "Then let it wake," she whispered. "I'd rather face it with you than live another life pretending I don't know your name." The candles flared bright, flames leaning toward them, as if the entire castle were listening. Kael's eyes softened. Centuries of restraint trembled in that single glance. He leaned forward slowly, as if asking permission from the universe itself. Their lips met, barely a whisper of a kiss, and the world shuddered, not in destruction, but release. The air warmed, the red hue of the moon softened to silver. The broken ceiling sealed itself with quiet light, leaving them beneath a calm, endless glow. Kael pulled back, eyes searching hers. "Every kiss steals a piece of my soul," he said, "and yet I can't stop." "Then let it take mine too," she answered. Outside, the blood moon pulsed once more, not angry this time, but watchful, as if deciding whether love this fragile deserved to survive its curse. The room fell into a hush so complete that even the wind seemed to pause outside the broken window. Kael still held Elara's hand, but his gaze had gone distant, as if the centuries were opening before him like a long black sea. "You asked me once," he said quietly, "what bound me to the moon. You deserve the truth, even if it unravels everything you think you know." Elara didn't speak. The candles dimmed, and in their glow, Kael's face began to shift, not in form, but in memory. Shadows gathered behind him, forming the shape of an ancient world. Long before this castle rose from stone, he said, there was a kingdom called Valmir. It was a land where night and day were lovers, always chasing, never meeting. I was born beneath the night's vow, and so I carried its hunger. He paused, eyes flicking toward the moonlight, seeping through the crack. I wasn't born a monster, Elara. I became one for love. Her heartbeat caught. For Lysandra? He nodded once. Lysandra was the high priestess of the moon temple. The moon obeyed. Her voice. Every night she called it to rise. Every dawn she sang it to sleep. And I was sworn to guard her. The air trembled with his words, the way old stories do when they remember themselves. We were never meant to fall in love. The gods forbade it. The moon had chosen her, and the darkness had chosen me. But love is not a thing that listens to rules. It grows in silence, in glances, in the spaces between prayers. He drew a slow breath, as if tasting memory. When the gods discovered us, they did not strike her. They punished me. They carved my name from time and fed it to the blood moon, binding my soul to its hunger. I became the promise that guards the cursed, eternal, empty, and thirsting for what I could never touch again. Elara's throat tightened. And Lysandra? Kael's expression softened into something beyond sorrow. She tried to break the curse. On the night of the blood moon, she offered her life for mine, but the gods twisted her sacrifice. They promised her soul would be reborn in every age, so I would never escape remembering her. Every time I find her again, I lose her again. His voice broke on the last words. The castle seemed to sigh. That's what this place is, he said, a tomb made of repetition. Every lifetime I find the same eyes, the same heart, and every lifetime I fail to save her. Elara stepped closer, and now I am her echo. He nodded slowly. You are, and yet you're not. You feel different. The curse should have awoken the moment you stepped into this hall, but it didn't. The moon hesitated. Her voice was barely a whisper. Why? Kael met her gaze. Because it fears you. Silence fell again. Thick, trembling, alive. The blood moon has power over everything born of night, he said, but it cannot command what was born of forgiveness. And you, Elara, you carry something Lysandra never could. Mercy. Elara swallowed hard. If mercy can break your curse, then let me try. He shook his head. No, mercy alone can't undo what was written in blood. Then what can? Kael looked toward the silvering sky. The faint glow of dawn brushed the horizon like a wound trying to heal. The gods wrote one law even they cannot break, he said. Every curse is a promise twisted wrong. To end mine, someone must love me, not in defiance, but in understanding. Someone who knows the darkness and chooses it anyway. Elara's heart pounded. Then teach me your darkness. Kael's eyes widened slightly. Surprise, disbelief. Then something softer. You would share my curse? If it means freeing you, she said, then yes. Even if it means losing myself. For the first time, Kael smiled, not with sorrow, but wonder. The blood moon flickered above the clouds like a heart skipping a beat. Then perhaps, he whispered, the gods are about to learn fear. The wind stirred. The candles extinguished one by one until only the moon remained, watching, glowing, waiting. And somewhere in its red light, the curse shifted, ever so slightly, as if acknowledging that fate too could fall in love. The first light of dawn never reached the castle. Instead, The moon lingered, pale now, drained of its crimson, watching her through a veil of cloud. Elara stood beside Kael, but something in the air changed. The walls rippled like water. The floor shuddered once, and then silence. When she looked again, Kael was gone. The corridor before her was no longer ruin but whole, polished stone, banners untouched by time, torches burned with steady blue flame, and beneath her feet, petals, thousands of them, white and silver. She turned slowly. A mirror hung on the far wall, tall enough to swallow the room. Inside its glass, she saw herself dressed not in her travel clothes, but in ceremonial silk, her hair braided with moonlight. Then she heard a voice, her own and not her own, whispering a prayer. "Let him return to me, even if it breaks the sky." Elara gasped. The reflection smiled back at her, tears glistening on its cheeks. "Lysandra?" The name fell from her lips before she could stop it. The world rippled again. The scent of salt and smoke filled the air, and suddenly she was standing on a cliff, waves smashing against jagged rock below. The moon hung huge and red above the sea. A man knelt before her, Kael, but younger, unscarred, his eyes bright with hope. He held her hands. "If the gods will not bless us," he said, "then I'll swear to the moon itself. I will guard you, even if it costs me my soul." The wind howled. She felt her heart break, both as Elara and as Lysandra. The sky split with lightning, and the moon bled light. Everything shattered. Elara fell backward into darkness, her breath torn away. When she opened her eyes, she was back in the ruined hall. Kael crouched beside her, shaking her shoulders gently. "Elara, look at me." She blinked, dazed. I saw them. I saw us." Kael's expression changed, not surprise, but sorrow. "The moon showed you," he said quietly. "It's beginning." "What's beginning?" "The trial. The moon doesn't give mercy easily. It will make you live every lifetime again until it knows your heart cannot be broken." Elara shivered. "And if it breaks me, then it will take you from me forever." He pulled her into his arms, holding her close. The tremor in his voice betrayed the fear he never let anyone see. "Listen to me," he whispered. "What you see from now on, the visions, the voices, they will lie. They will make me the villain. They will make you the betrayer. But no matter what you see, remember this moment. Remember that I loved you before time began." Elara pressed her forehead to his chest, the rhythm of his heartbeat grounding her. "Then promise me," she said. "If I forget you, make me remember." Kael's arms tightened, "Even if it costs me everything." The moon flared crimson again, flooding the hall with its pulse. The floor beneath them glowed with ancient sigils, the same ones that once sealed the god's decree. Ilara's vision blurred. She saw flashes, a battlefield, a burning temple, a hand reaching for hers and missing by an inch. Each vision carried a name, a voice, a death, and through them all, Kael's whisper followed, "Find me." When the light finally faded, she was alone again. Only the locket on her neck still glowed, its heartbeat in rhythm with the moon. The silence that followed was not peace. It was the hush before a question too heavy for words. Elara stood in the ruined hall, her breath shallow. The locket throbbed against her skin, each pulse brighter than the last. Outside, the blood moon stirred again, its color deepening, no longer soft crimson, but a shade closer to wine, to sorrow, to hunger. A whisper swept through the corridor. It was her voice, yet not hers. "He lied to you." She turned sharply. Her reflection in the cracked mirror tilted its head, smiling with lips she did not move. "He said the gods cursed him," the reflection murmured. "But do you know who begged them to do it?" Ilara's chest tightened. Stop! The reflection's smile widened. Lysandra did? You did. You asked them to bind him to the moon so that he would never leave you. You made him a monster. The mirror rippled like water, and suddenly she was back on that ancient cliff again. Storm raging, sea roaring. She saw herself, robed in white, tears streaming as she lifted a silver dagger toward the sky. If love will not keep him, her other self cried, then curse him to stay. The blade flashed. The moon bled. Kael screamed. Elara fell to her knees, clutching her head. The vision burned behind her eyelids. No, no, that can't be true. The air trembled, and a shadow stepped forward. Kael. But his eyes were cold this time, his face carved in stone. You asked for this, he said. You made me what I am. She staggered back. You're not real. Aren't I? He whispered. Every version of me is real to the one who loved it. His hand lifted, but when she reached out to touch him, he vanished into mist. The castle shuddered, candles exploding in bursts of ash. From every corner came whispers, hundreds of voices, all her own, all from different lifetimes. You loved him, you betrayed him, you killed him, you saved him. Elara pressed her palms to her ears. Stop, please, stop. The locket around her neck cracked down the middle, and from the split came a single drop of red light that floated upward toward the moonbeam. Then everything went still. A single voice spoke, calm and ancient. Truth is never one story, Elara. It is all of them. She looked up, and the figure of a woman formed from moonlight itself. Her face was identical to Elara's. Her eyes were endless. Lysandra? Elara whispered. The figure smiled faintly. No, I am what remains of her. Then tell me, was it true? Did I curse him? The moon spirit stepped closer. Once, perhaps. But the curse changed. It feeds not on guilt now, but on doubt. Every time you question his love, it grows stronger. Elara's heartbeat echoed through the hall. Then it's not his curse anymore, she breathed. It's mine. The spirit nodded. Only you can end it. But ending it means seeing every truth, every lifetime, even the ones where love destroyed you both. The moonlight dimmed, the spirit fading like mist before sunrise. When the moon rises again, she said, you must choose which memory to believe. And then she was gone. Elara fell back against the cold stone, trembling. Her eyes lifted toward the shattered ceiling, where the blood-colored sky loomed. For the first time, she wasn't sure whether the moon was her enemy or her own reflection. The night had grown thin. The blood moon hung lower now, its color drained to the pale of old rose petals. Elara sat against the cracked wall, the broken locket still warm in her palm. When she looked up, Kael was there again, half in shadow, half in light. No illusions this time, no visions, just him. You saw everything, he said quietly. Enough to doubt you, she admitted, and enough to love you anyway. He smiled, weary and honest. Then you've already begun to break the curse. A breeze slid through the ruined window. The scent of wet earth followed, dawn waiting just beyond the horizon. The moon tested me, she said. It wanted to know whether love could survive its lies. And what did you tell it? Elara rose slowly, closing the distance between them. That love isn't about believing or not believing. It's about choosing, even when you're afraid. Kael reached for her hand. The moment their fingers touched, a soft glow spread through the floor, symbols older than language flaring to life. The castle hummed with low, sorrowful music. If you speak those words again when the sun touches the tower, he murmured, the bond between us will either break or bind us forever. And if I choose to bind, Then your soul becomes part of mine. You will never age, never leave this place until time itself ends. Elara's breath shook. And if I free you, I will vanish with the curse. You will live, but you will forget I ever existed. The light grew brighter, silver edging toward gold. Outside, the first cry of a morning bird echoed, fragile and clean. Elara's eyes glistened. Every lifetime I've lost you, she whispered. I'm tired of waking up alone. Kael cupped her face, his thumb tracing the curve of her lips. And I'm tired of making you remember. They stood in the rising light, two figures caught between endings. The glow from the floor swirled upward, forming a ring of light around them, moonlight and dawn intertwined. Then what's your choice, Elara? Kael asked. She looked toward the horizon, where the first shard of sunlight touched the world. Then back at him. My choice, she said, is to stop running from the curse and walk through it with you. She pressed her hand to his chest. The sigils flared once more, brighter than the sun, and the moon above flickered out like a candle. For a heartbeat, there was nothing, no sound, no light, only the feel of his heartbeat echoing hers. Then the castle exhaled. The walls softened into mist, the air filled with the scent of lilies. When the light cleared, Elara stood alone at the edge of the forest. The castle was gone, the locket whole again, the sun rising. She touched the locket gently. Inside, where once there had been only an empty hollow, lay a single drop of silver, shaped like a tear. You kept your promise, she whispered. From somewhere deep within the fading moonlight came a faint reply, soft as breath, eternal as memory. And so did you. The wind stirred the trees, the dawn opened wide, and for the first time in 1,000 years, the blood moon slept.